The Pacers go on to play the Knicks. That series starts Monday. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that. The Bucks season, which never really got in gear, comes to an unceremonious end. So, Windy, it feels to me like we're talking about three different people in ascending order of importance: Doc, Lillard, and Giannis. What should we expect?
Yeah, well, they lost the series because those guys were injured, but that doesn't clear the fact that their season was a big disappointment. And the big challenge for them is they've pretty much exhausted all of their assets. They are capped out. They have traded away all their draft picks pretty much, and they don't have much on their roster beyond their top star players that has a lot of value where they could actually improve by trading. So I think Dame is committed to being there. Doc, I think changing the coach again doesn't make any sense. I think you want to hear from Giannis. We haven't heard from Giannis in almost a month because he's had this injury. Giannis' comments and his feel on where this team is are going to be very important. He just signed a long-term contract extension before the start of the year. He committed himself to Milwaukee. But you want to hear about where he thinks about the direction of the franchise, because this team doesn't have the ability to improve defensively through free agency or really through trade. They're going to have to figure out a way with minimum players and stuff, and that's not it's not appetizing. I don't see a clean path, especially with Philly and New York strong and very upwardly mobile in the East.
So, Chiney, the question feels like this to me. The Bucks were a team that was supposed to be the biggest threat to the Celtics in the East, and it never materialized. If they run it back and those guys still live in a world where they are healthy, are they going to be that next year? Will this Milwaukee team, in your mind, next year be a legitimate championship contender?
They will have to figure out how to get more from less. And I'm talking about less, meaning guys not named Dame and Giannis and also Chris Middleton. You have to commend Chris Middleton for how he showed up in this series. But the truth is that health was not on their side with their star players, even though they thugged it out. Will they be a championship contender? When you brought those two players in Dame and Giannis together, that was the expectation. But what we have also realized in the NBA these days is that one or even two stars are not enough. You need a whole group, a whole team effort, even if those stars are Giannis and Dame. I believe that they'll have a better, I guess you can say, if those guys are available. I believe they only played 52 games, that duo, this season. I believe that they can really make a run and push the Celtics, but the Celtics are stacked from top to bottom. So it's going to be a tall task. They have to fix their defense. They have to be able to get more shooting from perimeter guys. They miss guys like Grayson Allen, who led the league in three-point percentage. Those tweaks on the supporting cast are the reason why teams are championship teams. They have to find it.
Now, we'll see what they wind up doing. Two other things I think we need a comment on. Jay, Will, you played in the league. We saw what happened with Pat Beverly there at the end. We know he's an emotional player. We understand that's part of what has, made him a significant player in the NBA for a long time. It goes without saying this is way beyond the pale. We'll show it again here as he, in frustration, throws the ball at the fan. And then, again, the first one is bad enough. This is just overwhelmingly inexcusable. What are the right things to say here?
I love Pat Beverly as a person. I think it was a bonehead decision. It was a really dumb decision. And there's no need to engage with the fan base while you're getting beat up like that at all. And then what he did to the reporter literally in the locker room was kind of disgraceful. Like, just be classy, take the loss, take the trash talk, hold yourself to a higher standard.
Yeah, it was
embarrassing. It was embarrassing for the team and for Pat Beverly.
A bad look, for sure. And what did you say, Stick? I'm sorry, my producer said something to me. No, okay, fine. We just lost Sinead to the electronics, but we'll get back to it. Let me get a final thought here, or a first thought, I should say, on Knicks-Pacers. So the Pacers advanced through this. Now, those of us who are old enough to remember, Knicks-Pacers was a genuinely great rivalry in the late 90s. People talk about, you remember the Reggie Miller, you remember the four-point play. There were all this, it brings back so many memories. Knicks will go in pretty significantly favored.
We'll see. And during the regular season, the Knicks had a hard time with
they are significant favorites, I believe. I believe what I was told this morning was the Knicks, I don't want to misquote
series?
it. We'll get it. Okay. Yeah, the odds there by ESPN bet, 62% chance to win is that game one. Here are the odds. They're minus 270 to win the series. That is Alan, that's a significant favor.
I would not overlook the Pacers' depth right now and their ability to score off the bench. Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell went for 20 last night, each off the bench. They put up 50. They can score a lot. And we were just talking about Jalen Brunson is your one main scorer, who else is going to make up that scoring? The Knicks defense has to be on point to keep the Pacers from doing their usual 120 points a game.
I'll slow down the pace of the game. You can control that with the tempo of your offense as well for the Knicks.
Physical series
yes,
too, right, Jay?
Physical, slow-paced series for the Knicks, yes.
Yeah. What did you see in that final play and the execution down the stretch?
Jay Will, you're getting me. You're starting to work my blood pressure. You're getting me a little bit more and more because as I watch that play, the more frustrated I get because the Sixers, they had options. That's what they say is the best thing to have in life, options, right? They had an option to pass it early to Tyrese Maxey, and we know he's great downhill. Buddy Hield had an option to use the rest of the game clock, 3.4. We all know 3.4, you can get 2 dribbles off, you can pump fake, and then you can shoot. And he is a true shooter. And then lastly, the last option is Buddy could have kicked it back to Tyrese. That's a complete play where he would have been ahead of the defense that was caught back court, and he could have shot it just like we saw in the last game. They had options, but it looked like they panicked. And I think Brian alluded to this best earlier. They panicked because they didn't have their big man on the floor. That is the ultimate gravitational pull. And instead, they had to rely on themselves in that moment and not using those options that we saw. So it could have come down to play design and also basketball IQ.
Yeah, Embiid had fouled out of the game. For those of you who didn't stay up and watch it, let me offer a defense. Because the one thing when these games end so late is, you go right to sleep. And so I'm watching this now. Thoughts are coming into my head. Is it possible that Nick Nurse says to Buddy Hield, he's going to foul you immediately, so get a shot up, like the second you feel it. And so he thinks he's been fouled, to your point. What the coach's instruction may have been,
because they were doing it.
The second we get it in, they're going to foul you, so fling the ball at the basket because you're going to get the 3 free throws.
Yeah, and that was the Knicks' plan. That was supposed to be the plan in Game 5. Didn't happen, so they were definitely going to be on point in this game. They did it twice. It was extending the game because you were not losing time. They were fouling too soon, and so they were getting more opportunities. So they were looking for it to happen one more time. He actually, after he shoots this, watch him turn and say, I got fouled. You can't see him in there. He goes out of the frame. But you'll see it here. Will turn to the referee and say, I got hit. But they weren't going to give it to him. And I don't know if he did or not because you see McBride does sweep in there. But that's execution at the end of the game. That's simply what that is. And the Knicks, look, 5 of the 6 games went to clutch time.
Yeah.
And the Knicks were plus 13 in that clutch time. The Knicks were better when it mattered most late in the game. It was only Game 5 that they were not able to.
McBride does reach the hand.
Yeah, his hand there, he recoils.
We'll have to wait for the 2-minute report to find out if it should have been a foul. Let me get.
I don't need any more of those.
Everybody's favorite thing in the world, the 2-minute report. Let me go to Windy here. Windy, so the Knicks advance, and we'll talk so much. That's the little picture stuff, right? And when a series is that close, we can dive into all the little plays and the little moments. Let's go big picture. When the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, I don't remember a lot of people saying, oh, here's a difference-making move. I remember a lot of people saying, $104 million for Jalen Brunson? The Mavericks just let him walk out the door. What do we say this morning, Brian Windhorst?
In terms of the actual production per dollar, it's one of the great value contracts in the NBA, if not all of pro sports. And when they signed him, people thought he was one of the bottom 15 starters at the position in the NBA, which is why people thought that $100 million was a little bit too much, and that's why Dallas, who already had Luka Doncic, thought that. But when you look at free agents to change teams in the last 30 years and the impact that they've made, it's a very short list that could compare with Jalen Brunson. You're talking Shaquille O'Neal from the Magic to the Lakers, LeBron down to Miami and back to Cleveland, Steve Nash going to Phoenix from Dallas and winning a couple of MVPs, Kevin Durant going to Golden State. Now, obviously, those other players won at a high level. The Knicks haven't done that yet, but when you look at these last 3 games, they're historic in their level of dominance, and for him to go 40-40-40 and deliver on the road like this for a team that's had so much trouble finding a franchise player, you can't overstate the incredible value now and what it enables the Knicks to do to improve this roster. So many teams are very good but can't improve. The Knicks can only get better in the next couple of years.
Let me put the screen, Cindy, let's put the numbers up there just to point this out because this is not a Knicks thing. This is one of the genuinely great playoff series that any player has ever had in the history of the NBA. The last player to score at least 39 points in 4 consecutive postseason games was Michael Jordan in 1993. Jalen Brunson, Chiney, I'll come back to you on this as the player. Just talk, what are we seeing in a player that, look, I'll admit it, I did not see this coming from under any circumstances as recently as a year and a half ago. How would you describe what Jalen Brunson is?
The way I describe Jalen Brunson is that he embodies the city in which he resides. He embodies the grit, the grind, the chip on the shoulder mindset, but also he embodies the star power that New York City has looked for, and he's brought it. And what I love about Brunson is it comes in a package that is unexpected. He's 6'2". He's someone who has to constantly work on his game. He's someone that does not shy away from the moment. But most importantly, he is a galvanizer. He is a catalyst. He is someone that makes you believe. If we're seeing his teammates like Dante DiVincenzo play every minute of a game, Josh Hart knock down shots. He's a 31% three-point shooter, but making the shots when it matters most in clutch time. But more importantly, his post players, they're ferocious on the boards. Everyone's saying we won, the Knicks won based off of Brunson's heroics. It was really the boards that won them the game. And just the idea that they are undersized that in certain positions, but they are relentless, it all stems from him.
Knicks at 48 rebounds to 46, yes.
I just want to reiterate to people how hard it is to do when you are 6'6" to go against guys like Kelly Oubre who are 6'7" with a 7'3" wingspan.
Yeah.
When your game isn't elite speed east to west, when you're doing things out of the half
or
court,
jumping over you,
or when you're going against Nicholas Batum's 6'8", 7'1" wingspan, it just puts into perspective how crazy it is. It's like an AI performance that you're watching from Jalen Brunson.